And welcome back, everybody. Today we're gonna take a look at 3 tin neck sabers. We have a Saber Force Exalted V2 on the left. In a stunt configuration, it has a deep red LED. We have my favorite saber, the Evolution Arm slash Vader's Vault Hero. This is really one of my favorite all-time sabers. Well constructed, very comfortable to hold, etc, etc. And then we have a Ksr K4 kit on the far right. This is an empty kit, and basically this kit is meant for people that want to install electronics themselves. And I really started to grow a love for tin neck sabers. They are fantastic, they are a lot of fun. They have these unique designs and they feel great in the hand. They're not always per se very good for dueling. So if you going heavily into a dueling session, or you want to basically find a saber that is both for cosplay, dueling, etc., I would say tin necks are not the best choices. They can work very good, like the Vader's Vault is made for dueling, but is not made for heavy dueling. So you need to be cautious. Either way, all these tin necks can break at any given time when you do dueling. So I would say keep these more as a cosplay piece or a display piece, or just a piece to play at home or take to friends and show off. Rather than for dueling from a sport type of view. Now these sabers are fantastic, of course. These two are cannon hilts basically. We got Luke Skywalker's Return of the Jedi V2 hero prop. And this is really one of my favorite sabers. Every time I hold it, I'm so happy with this purchase. This is one of the very few select sabers that not rotate out of my collection. These are here to stay. This saber is not going anywhere. This will be in my possession for a long time. Probably will be passed down to my son at some point. But man, I love this saber. It's so well constructed. It feels so solid. It's such a beautiful piece. I really love it. For all these 3 sabers, you of course can see the full review. For each of them I have done an unboxing video and full review, so in case you wonder, hey, can you show me more about the details, I ask you kindly to browse to those videos on my YouTube channel, check them out, and they're really cool. So we have the hero prop, which is basically a cannon hilt, and then we have here another cannon hilt, which is the Ksr K4 by Ksr. Absolute fantastic piece, very affordable, and that's what I love about Ksr, is that their hilts are really affordable compared to, for example, the high-end kits from Roman's props, which looks stunning as well. You pay more than double for those hilts, and there's little differences in accuracy. So this one is already quite accurate. Very minor details, slightly difference from the the Roman's props kits, but it's really minimal. If you, I can honestly say, in 99% of the cases, the Ksr kits are more than fine. They're fantastic kits, and they can be more accurized as well with different parts. They're beloved by the do-yourself community in this lightsaber in collecting industry or community. And then we have the Saber Force Exalted. I did a review on the saber already. It's a mashup of a Saber Force Redeemer in terms of the upper body. The lower body is of a Saber Force Fury. It's an okay saber. It's flawed in terms of how the tin neck is designed, and that is something that that is really important with tin neck sabers, and that's why I love this hero from Vader's Vault so much, is how they constructed the tin neck, how the different pieces are going into each other, etc. So this whole grenade section here, this black part, is a single piece. As far as I can tell, this is a single piece. Then we have a piece of copper, and then we have alloy again in the middle. So you have one piece that threads into the copper, and then one piece that threads into the grenade section, and then we have the whole body section here, and then we have another piece here to take off the entire pommel, which is an entire big piece here to review the inner Delrin chassis to recharge the battery and whatnot. And for example, with the core band kit, which of course is much more accurate in terms of how the different parts on the original prop looked like, so it has a lot more different parts to make up those real life parts that were from World War II weapons and bombs and grenades and whatnot. So it has of course much more intricate designs in that, but this is of course more, these two are more movie props than anything else, as accurate as possible. And the Redeemer from Saberforge is being sold as a heavy dueling saber. It's a fantasy saber, it's a custom saber by the mindset and idea of Saberforge, but the problem with this design is just it's not well constructed for heavy dueling at all. The way how these parts threads into each other and have an endless threading, so this threads all the way into here, nothing else hold it in place. That is to me a bad design, because if you sell this saber as a heavily dueling saber, of course you need to have a much better construction for heavy dueling. And Vader's Vault and a few other companies have dual ready sabers that are having tin necks, and they have been explicitly designed in the whole tin neck construction to withstand the heavy dueling. And I highly recommend, when you purchase a saber, that is the thing what I always do for most. I look at how is the hilt constructed, why is it constructed this way, do research, look for pictures, look for YouTube review videos and whatnot, find the opinions from other people, but the hilt design is for me #1 reason to keep a saber in my collection or not. If the hilt is well designed, from an engineering perspective, like well thought out and functional in a real life final product, that is something I look for most for. Then I look of course at the design, and I look at the functionality for that particular hilt for what I need it for. So for this is my shelf queen, not for cosplay. Of course it can be cosplay, etc., but for me, I bought this saber for around $700 US, I think. I forgot the price. It's a very expensive hilt, a very expensive hilt. That's why, from my point of view, because I spent so much money on it, I cannot bring myself to actually carry this around, have it scratched, potentially scratched up, etc. I won't be dueling with it, but there's plenty of people I've seen that actually duel heavy with these sabers, with this particular hero hilt, for example. So this is, for example, as I said, this is a kit. So I purchased this as a do-yourself project, where I can install electronics myself and build that lightsaber in an inexpensive way, because these hilts are very affordable, like $220 US. They range into $220 US retail from core band, so that's a very good price. Plus you can install the electronics in a way you want. You can make it a stun saber, you can make it a mid-range saber with a mid-range soundboard, let's say Nano Biscotti version 4, or maybe something high-end if you want to. Now of course with this hilt you need to be very careful, because the inner diameters of the chest, the hilt body itself is very small, so you need to be caring about that. So that's why I always say, look at the construction of the hilt first, no matter what hilt, and then you know what you can do with it, and based on that, what you're gonna do with it, you can make your purchase or not. So for example, this hilt would not be suitable for most high-end soundboards, because they just simply don't fit inside the hilt without a lot of modifications. So you need to be prepared for that. You need to think about what you want to purchase. And from a Canon point of view, I'm just looking at a Star Wars view, etc. The tin neck sabers are the sabers that you want to have at least one of in your collection. If you are a lightsaber collector, you need to have at least one tin neck saber in your collection, period. The same with the Graflex. You should have a Graflex kits from Core Band, for example, or another company. They're very affordable. They are the essence of lightsabers, especially this saber, which is Obi-Wan's A New Hope saber, basically, and Return of the Jedi, Luke Skywalker saber, which was a partial rehash of this saber. The parts were reused on the hero, and really guys, the the feel and handling of tin necks is unparalleled. It's a really unique design. Not everybody's cup of tea, I can totally understand that, but I really recommend to have at least one of these iconical pieces in your collection. Now, if you want to have a tin neck, just from a Canon perspective, I would say spend a little bit more money. Spend a little bit more money on something that is Canon or high-end quality versus something that is low-end or mid-range. Stop, you will cut your skin. Give me that thing, you will cut your skin. You have blood. Okay, be quiet, eh? I make to finish the movie and then we can play. So if I really recommend you spend some more money on a high-end piece. For example, on this, for example, Vader's Vault Hero. When there's another run, I highly recommend this particular hilt. It is a fantastic, all out of the box complete set with all the electronics in there. There's nothing else you can do. High-end installation of electronics, crystal shard 4.0 soundboard. In this case I have the 3.0, but I highly recommend this hilt, guys. This is a fantastic piece. I keep saying it, absolutely fantastic. I love it. I love it since many sabers came and passed already in my collection, but this saber is here to stay. It's such a fantastic piece. This one is also very nice and affordable, a very good choice. This one, I personally say, most saber forged tin neck sabers, I would say that's a simple pass, just for the reason that the construction is not that great. The Redeemer and the other one, I forgot, the Prodigal Son, those sabers are not really fantastic well designed, because for example the control box is not solid, it's just a plastic strip here, and all these side panels are glued on, the buttons are glued on, the acrylic buttons here, the light red and green buttons are not doing anything, they don't light up, etc. So it's really a budget version of this hilt, and it just does not satisfy. I promise you guys, if you have a high-end piece like this, yes, you pay a lot of money for it, but it's so satisfying and it keeps you satisfied. I really feel that budget stuff that Saber Forge often churns out, which is a hero version of set saber, it's just not as satisfying. It just falls apart, it's all glued together, etc. It's just not so much fun. Then I say rather go for, let's say, a core band kit. Learn to install electronics yourself, and you actually make your own lightsaber, install the electronics, etc. That is super satisfying. But from the point of view of Canon lightsabers, going back, a Canon, you need to have a tin neck saber in your collection, period. They also handle quite unique compared to most cylindric types of hilts, and what cylindric I mean, of course, the round hilts. It just, the whole choking point is being affected by the tin neck. It feels different, you grip it different way. It's a really interesting experience. It's a little bit unwieldy, especially if you also have the control box on the side, but believe me guys, this is the essence of a lightsaber to me, and I love it. I absolutely love it, and I take it for granted that it doesn't feel that fantastic in the hand at any given time, but it's, for me also, these sabers are having a different reasoning in my collection than anything else. So these are not dueling sabers, these are not spinning sabers, these are not for cosplay or something like that. These are purely for collecting. And I'm very curious what's going to happen now with The Last Jedi, which is coming up very soon. Will Luke actually use this lightsaber? I really hope Luke is going to use this lightsaber in episode 8 with his green blade. I would love that, and that will really skyrocket the popularity on the Hero V2 hilt by a substantial amount, and I think that's going to happen. So last time with the TFA around, we saw the Gravlax kit being the hotcakes of all hotcakes. I think it will be this hilt this time around. I really hope this hilt is gonna make it into the movie. And if this one doesn't make it into the movie, then I hope the one with the clamp card on the side, so like this one, the clamp card on the side and the beat up look with the black gaffer tape here, that version comes up. Either way, I will be super happy with that. And I'm just curious, guys. What's your feeling about tin necks? What do you like about them? What you don't like about them? What is your opinion about them? Do they have a place in your collection, or you see them differently? Do you not really collect lightsabers, but you see them as tools for your dueling and twirling or choreography type of needs? Or are you more of a cosplay guy or girl, and you're looking for something inexpensive or affordable, or some other reasons where you're looking for in these kind of sabers? What is your opinion about tin necks? What do you guys think about it? I absolutely love them, and I want to collect more of them. I also would like to get my hands on the Solos Hold V1, or is that a V1? I think it's a V1 or V2, I forgot. It's a really nice canvas hilt, quite expensive, around $400 for an empty hilt. I really want to get my hands on that. And also I would like to have one hilt from Texas Sabers, I forgot their name. They made a heavy dueling ready V3, I believe, which is slightly different in the tin neck area than this hilt, and they make that one super sturdy for heavy dueling, and they're renowned for that fact. So I'm looking forward to get my hands on one of them as well. The big boys from Sabercraft also looks very interesting. I might pick one up too. I get one other tin neck from Solos Hold, that is the Orphan, which is basically Ezra Bridger's Star Wars Rebels Season 3 lightsaber, which also has a tin neck, and I'm really looking forward to owning that in my collection, because I really like the looks of that tin neck as well. For me personally, I lean towards Canon hilts, so the reason for that being the nostalgia and the connection with the character. For this one, for example, I don't have any connection with this character or whatever. This is something from Saberforge. They designed it, came out with it. I don't really have a strong connection with them. I would immediately pick up these two if I see them. I would think, okay, this is really cool, but this is my bee's knees. This is Luke Skywalker's hilt. This is Obi-Wan's hilt. Immediately drawn into that. That's my preference. Another thing I want to point out, because that's also often relating to the construction of hilts, and I forgot to mention that, we have the tin neck. How is the tin neck designed, right? How does the different pieces of the tin neck treat into each other? That defines also a little bit with the thickness of the material, how the wires are going to the LED. How is that working out? And also something that's different from these two hilts is where you're going to put the LED in the emitter section, where Saberforge put them here, and all the light have to transfer to the entire tin neck, and it's an absolutely crappy system because you lose out a lot of the brightness of the LED. This is a shit system, guys. I hate it. That's why I love these hilts so much, because the LED is right here. There's no light being lost. This is the same type of light brightness you get from any other type of hilt that have the blade directly attached on top of the LED unit. Downside is, this is a hilt without a emitter wall. So this one is only 1/4 of an inch deep, so the blade socket is quite shallow, so the blade is not very secure in here. But then again, this is more of a display piece than anything for me, so I don't do a lot of dueling or anything else with it. I don't often put my blade in there even, because it does not feel that great with the blade in there without that emitter wall. Now you can get that one from Vader's Fold as well. It has like a 1/2 inch to 1 inch wall thickness on there, and it looks very ugly in my opinion. It does not look like it's part of the hero saber as it should be. Some people are fine with it, I'm not, but that's your choice. This hilt has the same. It's a very shallow emitter. as you can see. So the blade that's actually going to here, and this is a 1/7 of an 8-inch blade, so this is actually not a 1-inch emitter, this is a thinner emitter. So I can swap it out, by the way, to the 1-inch emitter, that's no problem. But the downside is, yeah, you don't have much space of the blade resting inside the emitter section here, so the blade only goes in that deep, and yeah, that is not very deep, of course, so it has a tendency to have the blade wobble or fall out easier. With this one, they put a inner emitter here, and then the blade is sandwiched between these two parts here, and then by retention, you have retention going onto the blade from the outside, right? The retention screws onto the blade from the outside, and then pinches the blade against this wall. I do like this. I do like this system, but it's just not feasible for any emitter that has the LED in the emitter section. So that is something that's different. It allows a little bit more of a strength on the blade for dueling, for light tapping, but it does not provide that much difference from these hilts in terms of the blade not wobbling from left to right. It still wobbles even with this design, but this design is just shit because you lose out so much brightness of the LED. I really don't like that. So again, that's also quite a massive substantial difference, of course. And also, if you want to do dueling with a thin neck saber of your choice, I would say without the control box is definitely the preference, because the control box does do snag, it does hurt your hands, and even if you wear gloves, it does get in the way a bit. So that is one thing that I want to point out. So this, for example, streamlined hilt body, that is something you might want then in that case. So again, you have a lot of options and choices to look forward to. Also, one thing I need to point out is the hilt length. You can see the Redeemer is quite longer than both the Hero and the K4 from Corbett, and that is because they made it a little bit longer, so you have more hand gripping estate on the hilt, because you need that space, especially if you want to do dueling. You need to have some space on the hilt to grip on properly for a two-handed proper grip. That is something you can also look into, but overall, my personal preference for any type of thin neck saber is a solid hilt from top to bottom, one solid piece, nothing rattles, nothing is loose, everything is functional, everything works, like these buttons actually work, these LED lights actually light up as they're supposed, etc, etc. That is my preference. I also prefer D-rings or tri-rings over a cover tech view on thin necks, because just purely from a nostalgic and canon type of view, that I think a thin neck does not need a cover tech view, it needs a D-ring or tri-ring. But that's just a personal thing, that's my personal thing. So overall, I think they're fantastic hilts, minus the saber force. I think the saber force is just a not well thought out design for the purpose it's being advertised, and that's my personal opinion. Of course, yours might be different. I also was a little bit disappointed once I received this actual hilt. It wasn't as nice looking and cool looking as on the pictures. I just probably imagined it would be better looking than I actually when I actually received it. Also, the emitter flanges, you can see how smooth and small the emitter flange with this hilt is. It's very beautifully designed. It's not overly big, where this one from Corbett is quite big. Of course, that's more closer to the actual movie prop, but it's a big flange. I prefer this flange more. It's a little bit more streamlined, and this one is also quite big. This one is the biggest one. It also is like an upside down flower pot, so it looks like a flower pot if you turn it around. And this one is the biggest. Don't do that stupid stuff. So yeah, guys, I hope you like this little video. I'm a big fan of thin necks. I'm a really big fan of thin necks overall. I think thin necks are fantastic. I think they They really have a very strong presence in the Star Wars universe, of course. They're very iconical. I mean, together with the core band kit, these sabers, no matter if it's this hilt or for example the Graflex kit, everybody can recognize this. Even if I walk with this hilt aside, people will immediately recognize this as a lightsaber. Whereas some of the lightsaber designs that don't have like a tin neck design and are not a Graflex, people would maybe confuse it for a flashlight or something else, because it does not per se look so iconical with either the tin neck or the Graflex kit in terms of a lightsaber. So it's not immediately triggering somebody's mind to say, oh, that's a lightsaber, this guy is walking with a lightsaber. So that is something that I personally also think is the recognition, being so iconical for this design as a lightsaber, that people immediately recognize it, and that's really cool. That's really cool. So I hope you like this little video. I will do more comparisons with other tin necks over time. Let me know what you think about tin neck sabers. I absolutely love them. They have fully rights to, and they're rightful owners of lightsaber designs in the Star Wars universe. So more OG than a tin neck saber, you cannot get it, I would say. And thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. Check out my other videos as well, weekly videos every Saturday, either a lightsaber unboxing video or a full review. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Take care, and as always, stay scummy.